Hello and welcome back to DriveDriverDriven. My name is Humble, and this is not a video that anyone wants to make, but everyone wants to see. We've been through the build of the Blunicorn, and by now you've seen some track footage of me tearing it up. And over the course of 2018, I've done probably 10, maybe 9 or 10 track days in the car, mostly focused at Thunder Hill and a couple at Laguna Seca. It's a super capable car. In fact, now that I've got some seat time and a little bit of experience behind the wheel, I can actually say this is not a car that I recommend for a lot of people. It is, for all intents and purposes, a full-on Group C race car that you can plate and drive around on the street. It's not particularly comfortable, even though it has AC. You can put a stereo in it. Mine did not have one. I don't think that you could hear it. And it doesn't have a whole lot of luggage room. I could fit the basics for a track day in the luggage bins and in the passenger seat, but I could not fit a passenger. At the beginning of December in 2018, those of you who follow my Instagram account, DriveDriverDriven, you would have seen what happened on the 10th. Second session of the day, I'm out on the track, and late into the second session, cornering through 7, 8, and 9, the engine began to have a rod knock, and then on the run up to 9, the engine basically exploded and caught fire. It caused an oil and a gas fire, and I was able to get out of the car okay, but the car burned for a few minutes, basically like 20 minutes. It's unfortunate, but I got out fine. No one else was involved. No other cars were involved. And I was really the only one affected by it. So as disasters go, I think it went about as well as you could hope. That being said, the car has had better days. Let's go around the car and just take a look at what's left. The front's looking okay. This side of the car looks mostly okay. This is what's left of the dirt and fire retardant. You can see it looks a little crispy there, but really where the fire was centered was on this side of the car. And it doesn't, honestly, it doesn't look bad. I've seen worse. But open up the car and you can really start to see some of the damage. From all the water sitting in the tub, the carpet was just waterlogged. The fire system pulled. There's a bunch of mold now. Insurance has taken longer than usual because of the holidays, so no one's even come to look at the car. I'm filming this second week of January. The clamshell's obviously seen better days. I mean, you could see where the fire got into the fibers. And what happens is the fire propagates through the fiberglass. It burns the resin, and then the fibers turn into what is the carbon fiber that you would see in carbon fiber, basically. But the rear clamshell got so hot. This is the gel coat that's flaking off. Now, you can kind of see how thick that gel coat is, and why you can just keep on polishing it for like minor scratches, but no amount of polishing is going to get this out. Due to the heat, you can see here where the clamshell has lost its curvature. It's actually buckled from the heat of the fire. Not that it was really rescuable, but it's going to need a new clamshell. This piece here is all one piece. If you remember from the build video, this lower piece, that's the side pod area, and that will need to be replaced. This part here above the seam and then all the way up, that's a part of the center tub that goes all the way across, and that's not salvageable. That'll need to be replaced. So basically, because the doors were up during the fire, the doors are actually fine, but nearly every other body panel needs to be replaced. The rear clamshell, both side pods, the center tub, and if you have to replace those body panels, you might as well replace the whole body, because since this is a gel coat, this isn't paint, this is gel coat, and gel coat changes hue with exposure to UV light and exposure to the sun. So even if I had the factory pull me new body parts for just the ones that I needed, it would not match the front clamshell and it would not match the doors. And everything would need to be sanded, primed, and painted to match. And it's just cheaper and easier to replace the entire body. Now we'll get into some of the worst damage. So back in here, the bulkhead is actually deformed and melted from the fire. It's the carpet's melted, the seat belt melted. Getting into the clamshell now. Yeah, that's seen better days. You can see the aluminum grill melted from the heat of the fire. Let's see. Big shout out to these guys. Can't really see that name, but that says fuel safe. Without fuel safe tanks in the car, I think this fire would have been a lot worse than it looks. These are full on racing bladders, FIA rated, and the fire was right back in here. Well, one of the fires, I should say. If I had just a regular tank, I think the whole car would have been a loss. As it is right now, this is about the worst damage to the chassis. It cooked the powder coat a little bit. I don't think it's annealed the tubing, but I won't really know until I get it torn apart. Most of the heat was centered here around the bulkhead. The boots here are not hard or crispy. The one down there has seen better days, but I think my suspension sphericals are going to be all right. My control cables, shift cables, e-brake cables have all seized up. They had to be disconnected in order to move the car. The aluminum mesh, you can see, melted and fell off. I'm hoping I can save this intake and then the intake under it and some of the bolt-on pieces for the engine, but I won't know until I tear into it. There are giant holes in the block itself, one on either side of the V, right behind the header, and that's what started the fire. I'm pretty sure it ejected a rod or bits of a rod or more. So after all that, the fire gets put out. To me, this isn't bad. It can be rebuilt. I've heard from Richard at the factory, and if any guys from Ultima and Richard or Ted watching this, huge shout out to you guys. I would not go through this rebuild effort if it weren't for you. And some point in the future, I would love to make a trip to the UK and buy you all a beer. They've come out shortly after, maybe not even days after this happened and were offering me full support. So I can't thank you guys enough. Right now, where we sit is we're just waiting on insurance to get the ball rolling. We'll see what they say, but I don't think this car is totaled. Yeah, it'll need a full teardown, and I'm talking like a full chassis teardown. So yeah, the car's going to need a full teardown for a complete repair. The chassis harness is toast. The motorsports harness is toast. Basically everything behind the bulkhead. Well, I should say everything attached to the bulkhead and in front of the bulkhead. So like the engine, all the wiring harness, the control cables, the center tub and the interior, like all that's got to come out. And what we'll need to do is to take the car all the way down to basically a rolling chassis. All four corners are good. The brakes are good. It's just drivetrain and wiring. Those are the big ones. I've already put a list together. Once things get approved and rolling through insurance, I'm going to get that list off to the factory and they can work on getting me spares. There's not so little Kumo, our shop foreman back there. Hi, Kumo. Hi. He works hard and he makes us work hard. But the factory will be able to put an order together, get it shipped out. And I think the longest part of this rebuild is going to be just waiting on those parts. It takes roughly 90 days for a shipment to leave the UK and arrive on American shores. And I honestly don't think the rebuild itself will take any much longer than that. In fact, we can tear down the car while we're waiting for the boat to arrive, so to speak. So I think we've done this before. We can do it again. And this time around, we can replace, rebuild, and improve on some of the things in some of the areas that I kind of want to do now. Stuff that I didn't want to do the first time around because I was in a bit of a crunch. And this time with the rebuild, I think I can do it the way I want it now that I have a little more time and then I can take you through that. Also, one of the benefits of this rebuild is I lost footage of the original build in kind of an IT problem that I saw at home or had at home. And now I can go through and show you some of the things that I didn't get a chance to show you the first time around. So in everything that happens, there's always an opportunity. And I think this is a good one. It's an unfortunate catastrophe, I guess, accident, whatever you want to call it. But now's a good time to talk safety. And I think in a follow-up video, I want to cover some of the safety items that were in the car that worked, some that didn't work as well, and the importance of safety if you're going to be doing track days or racing or what have you. A lot of stuff that just gets glossed over because I just want to go fast and all I need is a helmet and maybe some gloves and whatever. But even at an amateur level or just simply doing a track day for your first time, I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned here. And I think this is just a teaching opportunity to get some of those across. So again, an opportunity presents itself. So I think that's going to about wrap it up. I'll keep you guys updated as I hear anything or as there's any updates for the rebuild or as things happen. And we'll start the rebuild process. Well, actually, we'll start the teardown process, which will be probably the most fascinating thing. Personally, I'm excited to see what failed in the motor, what went wrong. I think there's telltale parts that failed, and we'll see what it was and how bad it went, because it went pretty bad by the sound of it. So for now, I'll see you guys later, and I'll keep you up to date.